I always come across websites that could be 10 times better, if only the developers wrote a few lines of CSS. So, this is a cheat sheet for devs who aren't good at or hate writing CSS. Let's supercharge your websites. Now, don't get confused by these color values. I am using variables to reuse the same colors throughout the video. Speaking of colors, sometimes flat colors are not good enough. Try spicing things up with gradients. Applying a gradient is not that simple as flat colors. Gradients are applied to the background property. We have 3 types of gradients, but you mostly need the linear type. After that, you define a rotation to it, and then at least 2 colors with start and end points. Works great on borders and buttons to make them pop. And to pop some content, just put them into cards. Makes it easier for the user to understand the related content. Just throw everything into a flex or grid box. Then apply some padding, and don't forget to round those edges. People like to see round edges. It just feels satisfying, and what is more satisfying than hover effects? You only need a few lines of CSS. Works for images, icons, text, and of course buttons. Just pick whatever makes sense for you. CSS has some dynamic features as well. Sometimes you don't need a fixed pixel value to design things. Instead, use viewport units, clamps, and flexbox to keep things fun and responsive. Suppose you have 3 divs with different content. If you hard-code a pixel value to those divs, they will get stuck or look odd on different screens. So, it's a good idea to assign a ratio to them. You can create some neat and responsive designs by using flex property. Speaking of neat, let's look at scroll snapping. It's hard to believe what 2 lines of CSS can do for your websites, and sometimes you only need 1. Bullet points are a key part of websites, so it's important that you make them more fun and meaningful to look at. And don't stop there, give a little character to your buttons as well. Buttons are the most interactive element on websites, so it makes sense to design them with some love and care. All you need is some background, border, and padding. If you are feeling a bit fancy, you can try some shadow, emojis, and animations as well. Everyone loves to see some cool animation once in a while. Animations can communicate more than words and images. Plus, it's super easy to implement them. Use the keyframes property to move, scale, or rotate things at the right time and speed. Just play around and you will get a hang of it. CSS is a super easy and rewarding tool to build amazing websites. But how do you get design ideas in the first place? I mean, CSS is just a tool to explain your design to the browsers. So, you need creative thinking to unlock the power of CSS. You can look around on Figma, Behance, and Dribbble to get some ideas. But those designs have some major problems, and I have already made a video on that topic. You need something that looks good, provide the best user experience, and easy to implement. And that's where Mobbin comes in, the perfect sponsor for this video. Mobbin have a huge library of tried and tested designs. Plus, the search and filter function is a lifesaver. Whether you want to design a specific section or a full-blown app, you will find everything in here. Let me show you the smart and easy way to get design inspirations. Just pick a relevant app to your industry, and you have all the screens and the full user flow of a top-tier website right in front of you. Even if you have never designed a single app in your life, this is so easy to understand. Take user onboarding for an example. At first, we have a standard hero section. By the way, we will look at this in a minute. It's too good to skip over. But first, the user flow. On the hero section, we have the sign up and login options, with every single screen to cover all the different routes the user might take. Now, you don't have to manually check every single screen. Just use this flow tree on the left sidebar, and pick a screen you are interested in. Now you can save this design to your library, copy directly to Figma, or just visit the main website to have a better look at things. Mobbin is a game-changer tool for designers and developers. Give it a shot. Now, let's get back to the homepage I mentioned earlier. Nothing fancy here. Images styled as cards. Interesting. Just adding a border radius and box shadow can make a huge difference. Wow, look at these cards. I bet these are flexbox divs with dynamic sizes. Look at these hover animations. I think they are using vector graphics with the same animation techniques I showed earlier. Although, it's much more complex and beautiful, but completely doable with just combining SVG and CSS. Remember this fill effect. You can't do that with raster graphics. SVG graphics and these complex animations deserve their own videos. If we ignore the black magic going in the background, the actual animation is quite simple. You have a mix of float, fill, and reveal transitions combined to create one big animation. I haven't covered reveal, but it's just opacity 0 on default and 1 on hover state. Plus, you're going to need SVG for these icons. Man, the transitions on this website. You don't need to go this crazy with animations. Practice with simple one like these to get started. Lastly, some cards to finish things off. Let's check the site on a smaller screen. Yep, working perfectly. Hats off to the designers and developers who created this masterpiece. By the way, you can find all these CSS features on my website. And yes, a CodePen version is also available. In the coming weeks and months, the list will only get bigger and better. So, keep an eye on it. Now, if you are already good at CSS, but can't generate design ideas, don't worry, design is easy. I have already covered a bit about that in my previous videos, but in-depth videos are coming soon.